Hey guys, this is Capo Regime, and after a long break, I've decided to record today for some reason. In between jobs, feeling a little disillusioned about where I am in life and how I'm going to support my wife and daughter, so I guess I'll play games and record them. Kind of weird priority, right? But I mean, I'm putting in all the job applications I can, and if I'm just home and having exhausted, all the job listing sites already and already having done what I need to do, I might as well just play games. But anyway, this is Railway Empire 2, a game that's a far cry from any other game that I played on my channel right now, which probably won't get any views or very little views, or you guys, my limited amount of subscribers will watch this and be like, what the hell are you doing, bro? But you know what? I'm gonna do my thing. We're just gonna play this game. We're gonna play the campaign, trying to beat as much of it as possible because I absolutely love this game. It checks all the right boxes for me. Sorry, commentary is a little shaky because I haven't done this in a while, so forgive me. But anyway, I'm gonna keep it short. That's probably already running a little long, but I'm gonna cut it off right there. That's the intro. This is Railway Empire 2. It is a transportation and railroad magnet simulator or railroad tycoon type game, so to speak, but whatever. We're gonna get right into it. We're gonna play the campaign. So we're gonna go ahead and start a new game, new campaign. We're gonna start at chapter 1, the American Northeast. Our hometown is Boston. I'm gonna keep the signal mode, which is this has to do with how trains get signaled when you have junctions, intersections, and gridirons, which I'll kind of try to explain briefly as I play here. But I have played some custom games. I pretty much have a railway empire all through the central part of the USA here, and I was starting to span over here, so I have a decent amount of experience. We're just going to go ahead and get into it, guys. I'll try to explain the game as we go, but I'm just gonna play, right? I'm not gonna spend too much time explaining things. If you guys want a more in-depth intro video, just let me know. But anyway, the Professor Morris Packhauser. I think I started a campaign, already named him that, but you know what? This is on YouTube, so Capo Regime. Okay, so as you can see, each one of these guys has some perks, and they have negative kind of debuffs, I guess, negative perks. So this guy, he's eloquent. The cost of an auction are subsequently reduced by 30%. So that's really good. We can win auctions more often and pay less for them. We're fluent in business, so all locomotives are 60% cheaper. I mean, this is going to matter a lot in the beginning from my experience, but later on when we're rolling the dough, we can purchase as many locomotives as we want, and it'll barely make a dent in our weekly to quarterly to annual income. It's not even gonna matter, right? So we got to worry about being unpopular though. 15% less revenue from passengers and mail. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna focus on building as much express lines and building as many connections to each of the cities as possible. So 15% might not be that bad, but we'll see. Okay, just gonna get into it. All the default options, you guys can pause to see what they are, but we can't change them anyway, so it is what it is.
The 19th century was a golden age of technology, especially for those of us whose hearts beat with the steady pace of the locomotive. My name is Nagelmakers. I assume you have already heard of me. When I was young, I had a dream, a cross-border luxury train from Paris to St. Petersburg.
Oh, wouldn't that be nice?
To make my dream come true, I invited guests. In another time, entrepreneurs like them were the driving force behind progress, but now they were standing in my way. Take this gentleman, for example.
Hey, that's me.
I was planning to revolutionize the industry, just as pioneers like him had done in the early days of the railroad. The late 1820s marked the beginning of a revolution in transportation, both in the Old and the New World. Fueled by steady growth, the industrial centers on the East Coast demanded more and more resources in less and less time. Roads and even the newly built waterways could hardly meet the increasing demand. However, inspired minds had combined the idea of tracks and the new invention of the steam engine into a powder keg that was to shake society to its foundations. It only took ambitious pioneers to light the fuse.
Ah, glad you're here. The name is Corning, Erastus Corning. You must be the young railroad expert that was recommended to me. Other people don't think much of this newfangled nonsense. But I think investment into this railroad thing and your company is money well spent. I'm the proud owner of a hardware company, and the more railway lines you construct using my steel, the richer I'll get. So don't go bankrupt.
All right, win-win partnership. Let's go, man.
Using the to-do list I created. My company is situated.
So this is our task list up here.
So you should connect this city as soon as possible. Don't worry about the difficult terrain. Clever planning is everything.
That can't be overstated, guys. Clever planning is everything in this game. There's only so much we can do. In 1830, we'll only have one locomotive available to us, and we have a huge tech tree of things to kind of build out in our research panel there. But anyway, this is the task list, guys. Pretty much our goal is to hit all of these. So what I gather from looking at several of these and in the several playthroughs that I've played already is this is a kind of historically realistic time to hit these milestones or tasks, so to speak. So this one we need to make a connection between Boston and the lumber company. We also need to deliver 8 loads of sugar to Boston. I'll let you guys read the rest, but the rest has to do with transporting passengers and the population of Boston. So right now we're already at 20,000. We only need, a little over 4,000 more people to hit that. So we'll get right into it, guys. So the very first thing I like to do when entering a new map, whether it's in the campaign or if it's like a custom game where we have more of the map available to us, is just looking at some of the resources we have around us and what cities or resources we need to connect to those cities. So looks like we have both Lopez breeding, which is cattle, and then the wood, which we need to connect to Boston. Okay, Flamingo Rail Inc. new record. Nice. So the grasshoppers, the locomotive we have available, close that out. So one thing you want to try to prioritize, especially early, is getting some of these connection bonuses. So if I can make a connection from Boston to these locations within 116 days, or as long as my railway line connects to these locations. It doesn't have to be to Boston necessarily, I don't think, but I get that bonus. So we're going to focus on getting that. So I noticed the wood and the cattle are down here. We want to be able to transport both the cattle and wood to both Portland, Maine, which is up here, and Boston here. Let me make it a north-south orientation so it's a little more apparent what's going on and where we are geographically, the United States. So New York City right there, already a pre-population city. Both of ours are only at 2, or mine is at 2. Portland is at 2 as well. So these are the first 2 cities we want to connect. So the very first thing we want to do here, guys, and I'll try not to make this like a tutorial. I'll just play and kind of talk about what I'm doing. So I'm placing a train station. So basically, we already have a train station here, don't we? Yeah, we already have a train station here, and we have a train station that can already transport these 2 materials. So what we need to do is build a train station here. So Portland, Maine, we want to connect to Boston first and foremost, and I'll kind of explain why as we go. But what I like to do is I want to orient it so that any permanently placed buildings like this one right here. For example, this is the meat industry. So this building is static, right? The rest of the city can morph and mold according to how you place things in them. So you can feel free to place over them. You know, nothing negative is going to come from that. But there is a lot of benefit to placing your rail stations in each city, so that it's maximally expandable, right? So we can see here with 8 lines below the station that we're going to be able to utilize all 8 of them. So that's the last time I'll really talk about that, just so you guys can kind of just watch me here as I go, and I'll try to explain things like I said. So we want to create a line from Portland to Boston. So we want to make sure that these lines are hooked up. And the thing you want to look out for is the cost of this line. So this is good. This max means the max amount of, you know, trains can travel as fast as they can here because there's no grade, right? It's a 0% grade, so we don't have to worry about trains speeding up or having to brake going downhill. We're going to build that. And what's cool is what I've heard in previous versions is that you had to build each rail individually every time, but what Railway Empire 2 does is it lets you build a parallel track to one that you just built, as long as you're connecting between 2 stations. This doesn't work with junctions, which we'll get into, but we're gonna go ahead and build that out. So what we're gonna do is we want trains to be able to travel both ways here. So the first thing we want to do is build a gridiron at the outside of each station that we want to connect, right? So we'll build one at Boston, we'll build one in front of Maine, and what we'll also want to do is define the directions of these tracks. So this is America, so we drive on the right side of the road, so right-left orientation. You can see the flow there, so that's kind of a cool visualization that helps a lot to see what's going on in your railway network, guys. So another thing that we'll need as well is a supply tower. I don't know what the best absolute like meta is or the best way to do this, but I like to put the supply towers right outside the gridirons at each station, just because that ensures that anything coming in and out is going to get resupplied if it needs it. That makes sense, right? So that's already a complete line, right? So one thing that we might want to consider is building a maintenance depot at one of these, because as trains degrade, they'll break down, and if they don't have a way to maintain their engines or maintain the locomotive at either destination on their line, then, you know, they won't get fixed, or it's just going to take really long to fix them. But we won't, you know what, we'll build it in Portland since Boston is our main city. We want to keep as many of the train station spots open as possible. For railway buildings, sorry, want to select the railroad, construct extension, and put the maintenance depot here. And then now what we want to do is connect a new rail line from Boston to Portland. And the only locomotive we have is the Grasshopper. And we'll do 2 trains. I don't know if that's optimal, but we're gonna do it. Okay, now we want to create our first junction here. We want both the cattle. Wait, what? Yeah, we want both the cattle and wood, because both Boston and Maine have meat industry. So if they can get access to both, they'll have everything they need to keep producing without interruption, right? Right now, I think they're only receiving cattle by road, right? Which is very, very slow. So they'll constantly be stopping production just to wait for the cattle to get there. That makes sense. So first we'll make the connection to Boston. So just have to think about how we're orienting here. So we want to connect this up here. I'll kind of explain if that's still confusing what I'm doing. So we have a downhill grade of 2%, and it doesn't affect our speed, so we don't have to worry about anything. Want to build that. Then we'll build the other connection to the other track, and then again building a gridiron right there, and then defining the direction. So if you have things going the wrong way, or if like the flow is interfering with the rest of the line, there'll be warnings that pop up, and let me show you right now. If I had this facing the wrong way, it's like, no, dude, you can't do that. This line's going this way, and this line's going this way. So you'll get used to it. It's confusing at first, but we have the gridiron in. Another thing we want in here is supply tower, and I like to place this, you know, on the terminal end, right? So I'm not going to be building more tracks going this way, so we might as well build it over here, or we should build over here so I have room to expand. That makes sense. And what I also want to do is go ahead and construct a maintenance depot as well. So now we want to make our first freight line. And we could just leave this on automatic loading, but I don't think we're ever going to be transporting people and mail here. So I think we can leave it on freight just so it's easier to manage replacing locomotives and stuff once we get better ones. That makes sense. I'll explain that more later. You guys stick around. Actually, we have the John Bull already. You know what? I should have been using the John Bull. We already have the John Bull. So I already started these. I already started these on the Grasshopper, but this has no detriment because it'll pull freight better and it'll transport people better. So this is suitable for mixed, as you can see. Both of these are, but this one's just better, right? So we're gonna do 2. We probably don't need that many, but we're future-proofing here, and it only cost us 37k. So we got 2 mil. So F it. So I want to upgrade that other line between Boston and Portland to the John Bull. So this is the all lines. It's easy to just find them since we don't have that many. So I'm going to edit this rail line to be John Bulls instead, and it'll cost us another 16k, which is fine. So those are upgraded. Now what I want to do is I want to create another track which lets the cattle and wood get to Portland. So easy way to do that is it's like a T-section here, right guys? We want to build right where I start to curve here, ideally, which is about right here. I want to build that with hopefully maximum amount of speed through this curve. Wait, why is it? There. Now it's max. So like for some reason, sometimes the game glitches out and it'll give you like a speed debuff because something slight changes in the terrain that reduces the speed. But anyway, we got it right now. Hopefully you guys understand what I'm doing. Is I'm just trying to keep the flow going both ways and both lines flowing so that there's no there's no kind of there's nothing interfering with the flow of the trains, right? So now I want to create another line from here to here using 2 John Bulls, and then from here everything should be getting what they need, right? So that's pretty awesome already. So we should be able to get this, deliver 8 loads of lumber. Good. And then we need 8 loads of sugar. So Boston to Portland we'll get eventually because we already have a rail line going through there. Then we could probably pretty much just let it run now. I think all we really need is sugar to Boston, because that will allow Boston to grow, I believe. If we get at least 1 or 2 more needed goods into Boston, it'll allow it to grow and get us to the population of 25,000 that we want. So that should fulfill the requirements to beat this campaign chapter. So we're gonna, where's the sugar? Okay, so sugar. So this is where warehouses come in, guys, and that's probably what we're gonna spend on, but for now we're gonna build a station that's oriented the same right by this. You know what I might want to do is connect Bangor to Portland first. That way we can have like a kind of another T section distributing the sugar to both Portland and Bangor. At least that's what I like to do. I don't know if that's the best way to do it, but we're gonna do it. So first we're gonna build this new train station in Bangor, orient it the same way, which I believe is like that, right? Yeah, it is, with a station at the bottom. Really all we gotta do is that. And as long as the majority of your station is within the green area, you should be able to build it. So I could build it like way out here if I wanted to, right? So that's fine. I'm not going to explain anything more, guys. I'm just going to build the lines just so we can demolish this scenario or this campaign mission. Oh, see, this is what I'm talking about here, guys. So whenever tunnels get automatically built in a line that you create, it adds a ridiculous amount to this cost. So it's like 700k just because of this tunnel. But there's something we can do about that. If we click a track point here, we can actually elevate the terrain by holding left shift and using our mouse wheel. So with no tunnel, we don't lose any speed, and our track only costs 119k versus like close to $1 million with the tunnel. So it's a huge savings, guys, and that looks like it's a pretty good line with no speed loss and only a 1% grade over here. So we're gonna go ahead and build that, take advantage of parallel track, and just start building all the things we need to in order to make this line function the way we want. Guys, I'm not an expert at this game. I know there's a lot of advanced things you can do with junctions and things like that, but this seems to work okay with minimal kind of negative effect on, you know, getting goods where I need to get them. So if you guys have any tips for me, I'd highly appreciate them, because I want to be playing this game as efficiently as possible and have things running well. So anyway, let's finish up this line here. What I really like too is anything you build as far as your railway line, if it's in the city will just readjust to accommodate it, which is really cool, without having a negative effect on population or you know, what the people think of your railway. But anyway, I think that's good. Let's go ahead and build the line from Portland to Bangor. Again, I probably don't need 2 trains, but I'm going to do it because I'll eventually will once cities start to grow and goods and demand start to go up. But as you can see, we already have an empire of 8 locomotives across 4 lines, which we're already generating some good income on all of them, and this one will be shortly. Yeah, let me just show you guys here. I never really zoomed in on one of the lines at work. So let's go ahead and look at where this station, what this is doing. So what's really cool is you know, you really like trains, you can center your camera on the train and follow it. So we can kind of see an overview of what's being transported on this train, which is 40 passengers, and all this meat is going to Bangor too. So that's what's really cool, is if you create a line from a city and you make it mixed or freight, the city will automatically ship its, you know, its product, which is meat, in Portland. It's also meat in Boston, but this line from Portland is shipping all of its excess meat to Bangor, which really needs the meat, right? So what's really cool is I have it on 1 speed right now. You can change the game speed to 3, and right now it's not going too much faster, but watch when I zoom out, guys. That thing is moving now, right? So that's a cool feature about this game that was kind of weird at first, but I'm used to it now, is if the further you zoom out, the faster it'll go in any game speed.
What we're doing here really has the potential to
looks like we completed a task. Yep, so that's the lumber. We still need to get the 8 loads of sugar, which we now can, because if we ship the sugar, or if we transport the sugar to Portland and use a warehouse to stockpile excess sugar, the line that's already taking passengers to Boston will also bring sugar in. And if you want it to happen faster, or if you have a priority of what you want on the train on a particular line, you can change that priority, which I haven't really done too much, but we'll experiment with it here just so you guys can see how it works. So I don't think Bangor's, as far as this tutorial or this campaign chapter goes, isn't going to need the sugar, so I'm not going to ship it over there for now. We're just going to start building our system to get it over to Portland. So I like to build it like this. I mean, that might not be the best. Maybe I should be building them like this. Yeah, since there's nothing to the east anyway. But let's build it like this, and that's how we're gonna get our goods over. So on this side of the station is where we're going to integrate into this line here. So I think that's, no, it should be on this side. Sorry guys. So it should be there. That should be like that. Gridiron. There we go. Nice. So what we always want to remember to do at each of these rural stations, meaning a station that's not in a city, and it's just a kind of a resource station trying to collect resources from businesses, is we always want to build a maintenance depot, because that line is going to be working really hard, the trains on that, and they're going to break down often. So there we go. Now that that's there, we can create a line, because I want Portland to get sugar too, right? So I could create a line from Clark Station all the way to Boston, but I want to make sure Portland gets sugar too. I mean, at least the way I'd be playing it, if, you know, I wasn't just trying to complete objectives for the campaign, that's how I would do it. And I'd probably build a line to Bangor too, but, you know, whatever. We'll worry about Bangor later if we have to. So we want to do a new rail line. So look, we have 3 stars now, actually. So let's do a warehouse first. And I might do that after, save up 200 more, because now that we have the warehouse, we can build a new train line from Clark train station, which has the sugar, to Portland, with 2 John Bull locomotives. And you know what? This is just freight, so let's make it freight. And we can build within Portland, the train station in Portland, we can build now a warehouse. Oops. A warehouse to keep excess sugar, which should then be automatically picked up on the line from Portland to Boston, and it should start giving it sugar. So we're gonna go ahead and speed this up here, guys, and see if that happens. So that's that. It looks like, look, we're already more than halfway done with transporting 320, and this is a goal in December, so we're gonna shatter that. We're also gonna shatter this probably, because we're gonna start bringing sugar over right away. It should, you know, by early May have hit Boston already, so that should be good. And then our population should start growing, and I think way before June 1831. So we're way ahead of schedule here, guys. There's nothing too much more to do as far as this first campaign mission goes. I guess we could get... What's Lee? What the hell is a Lee pit? What is Lee? Oh, that's just what the place is called. It's salt. I was like, what the hell is Lee? Okay. Route logging. Got it. Okay, this is a quarterly report. I'll just show you guys. Basically, it just shows what your balance is, like what your revenue mix is. Looks like we're spending 88K on expenses, but making 821,000. Excuse me, most of which is coming from freight right now. And that's because we don't have too many cities in our network. But once we can connect more and more cities, guys, like that passenger, especially as we build express lines. Basically, an express line is it just takes mail and passengers, right? It doesn't F with freight. So, you know, if we're not worried about freight transportation between cities, or if we want to create alternate track just for express lines, we can configure that as well. For example, if we want to go straight from Boston to Maine without having to pass through any station in Portland, or, you know, potentially getting interrupted by freight trains coming in and out of Boston and Portland, then we can build like an express only line, say the west below everything, or to the east if we can squeeze another rail in. Looks like we completed this already. So, oh wow, that was way ahead of schedule. April 16th we already got the sugar over. So it's working just the way we want here, guys. Sugar that's being sent to Portland here is getting stored in warehouses, which is then getting picked up by the existing line, like I mentioned, that's already going to Portland to Boston. So let me see if I can catch a train going back. This is from coal terminal, so yeah, that's coming from there. So that's not the train. But if we pause it and get this, we see the sugar coming here. See that? The sugar is gonna get deposited in Boston, and this was from the warehouses. This isn't from a line all the way from Clark Train Sugar Station all the way to Boston. It's cool how things interconnect and what you can do, guys. This game is so in depth. It's one of the best things I like about it, and once I start getting the hang of how things work, I was just hooked. You guys are probably like, man, I don't play shit like this, but hey, don't knock it till you try it, man. It's pretty dope. Anyway, guys, hopefully the audio is coming through okay. I was having some issues just getting my setup to the point where it was before, trying to reduce mouse clicks and background noise. Hopefully I can do some stuff in post in editing to kind of balance out the audio a little more. Hopefully it's coming out okay. But anyway, guys, we're quickly getting through this task list here. I might skip ahead to when we completed this. I don't know. Maybe we can just watch trains together. I don't know, man. Trains are pretty dope. Let's follow this one. There's even ride-along mode, which kind of forces you to go into the slow speed. But it's kind of cool to watch. You know, you can kind of pan around it too. And if you're a fan of historical locomotives or whatever, you're gonna start nerding out right here. So it looks like we got our worker from that porter that helped us load everything, right? And we got the conductor right there. And our John Bull engine. Man. It looks sweet, bro. Looks decked out in gold. Okay, we just passed the gridirons, which is dope. This game's really well optimized, man. I haven't had a hiccup since I started playing this game. Even with like 100 simultaneous trains on 45 different train lines with, I don't know, maybe 3 dozen cities interconnected. Not a single hiccup, but I am on a 3080 Ti, so I'm pretty sure this game would perform really well on some budget GPUs as well. So anyway, hit escape to get out of that interface, see how we're doing here. Let's see our progress. We're already almost there, man. What does Boston need? So Boston needs to grow, so it doesn't look like it's growing yet. So let's see what other needs are. So this is a good time to kind of explain this. So anything with a percentage of fulfillment demand is something that the city needs. We'll just leave it at that, because sugar is being fulfilled 100%. A city starts growing once it's over 60%, and it starts shrinking once it's under 40. So we still need 10% more fulfillment of demand before the city starts growing. So 2 things, or I guess the 3 things that'll help us do that, is wheat, corn, and beer. So there's a number of ways we can get this, but first thing we're going to do is look around for wheat or corn. So the closest wheat's way up here. We might want to connect to Albany so we can start getting wheat. So we're going to do that. Should we connect to New York? What does New York have? I don't think I can connect to this network because it's a rival network. So we can't connect to there.
I received a grateful letter from the mayor of Boston.
Nice.
Regarding our new passenger line. That's really good press.
Yeah, so
Now
way ahead
that
of schedule,
they're
guys.
Goods faster than they are consumed. Passengers can be a more reliable source of income.
Dope. So all we need to do is be able to fulfill enough demand in Boston to start raising our population. So we don't have anything in our immediate area that will do that. So that's wheat, beer, and what else was it? Let's double check. It was wheat, beer, and corn. So I think the only way we can do that is by connecting to Albany, which we can do with our current stack right here, especially if we have our line planned out properly so we don't incur too much expense. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to build our line just around this mountain and into Albany. So with that kind of pre-planned out in my head, I think a station oriented like this would be ideal. Oh, like this. So we only need the majority of the station in the green bubble. So this would be ideal, I think. So let's start by building the line from Boston. And this should be on the second track since we're oriented opposite to Albany as far as our station goes. So let's see what it tries to do by default when we connect this. Well, look at that. It wants to go right under the mountain, which is going to cost us 2.8 mil. We could wait and save for something that quick and easy, but what we can do is I can create a track point here and bend it around to more what we want to do. And look how that reduces the costs. It's only $1 million now. And if we don't have this bridge and don't have this tunnel, it'll be reduced even more. So now we don't have either. 600K to build that line. It looks like this is a little slow around this bend. So if we add another track point and increase that bend a little, let's increase it a little more just so it looks a little better. And then it looked like it wanted to create another thing there. Here we go, one more track point. Now we have max speed. Oh, it looks like we have a little bit of an issue there. We want to try to maintain max speed, so we're going to create a little more of a bend coming out. Might delete that. No. Okay. I thought I could get away with deleting that track point. We have another track point too that we could kind of smooth out our line with. And this looks a little janky as well, so we could stretch that out. 700K. Easy. We can complete both tracks on this line and be connected to Albany already. So we're going to go ahead and build that. Like I said, create the parallel track, build all the gridirons and all the supply depots we need, and set our track orientation, or track direction, which obviously is right on the, we drive on the right side of the road, right? So I know a lot of people from the UK play this, so the fact that I'm saying it so many times might get annoying. No offense intended, all right? Okay, so similar to how we're doing everything else, I want to keep consistent here. Now I think we're ready, actually, and we have more sugar that we can tap into if we want, but we're not gonna worry about that for now. We're gonna build our train line from Boston to Albany. And I don't think it really matters what city you pick first, other than where the line starts running from first, from inception, right? I think from there it doesn't really matter. Things will flow both ways. People from Albany will come to Boston, either direction, right? So I'm correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's how it works. But anyway, we're gonna go ahead and build this line again with 2 John Bulls. Yep, we expanded the network. We have, so these stars mean how many hundreds of research points you have, or innovation points. So 3 stars means 300 at least. So that means we can go further down the line, and the speedometer will actually increase our maximum speed of all John Bulls by 5%. So that's pretty good in the long run. I don't think it's going to matter too much as far as this campaign goes, but we're going to get it because we got the points to spend. And we're going to go ahead and speed it up, guys. Let's watch our maiden voyage to Albany. And it looks like we're bringing a bunch of meat, so it's kind of slow. But our John Bull is chugging along, man. What did I do? Meant to do that. Yeah, 35 kilometers an hour. This is still picking up speed because it just came out of the station, but it should steadily speed up, especially since we have no grade to deal with. We have a little bit of earthworks going on coming through here, but a lot less expensive with no real, you know, no real detriment to how this line functions. So just gonna watch him come to the 3. I'm getting a call on my phone. I don't know if it's a recruiter, guys. I might pause it and answer this real quick. Maybe not. let him leave a voicemail. No, I'm gonna answer it. Be right back, guys. Hey guys, sorry about that. I'm back. For you guys, it was a second. For me, it was like an hour. I got on a call with a recruiter. Hopefully he has some jobs lined up for me. He's trying to set up a couple of interviews, so hopefully that works out. But anyway, I think what we were doing is that we were watching our newly built line from Boston to Albany, making sure that's functioning. And now that we have that line, I might connect Albany to Syracuse, because that way we can get the wheat stockpiled in Albany to get sent over to Boston, similar to what we did with the sugar in Portland. Ooh, Indian Transfer Act passed. Oh man, yeah, so this is the 1830s. There's still some crazy stuff going on with Indians being relocated and subjugated, which is definitely one of the, besides slavery, which I think is still starting to die down, one of the uglier things about American history. But this is not a history channel, this is a gaming channel, so get rid of that noise. Anyway, looks like our line is functioning. We got the first train arriving from Boston and Albany, which is going to take the first passengers from Albany, get us this 500k bonus so that we can have all that expendable income for creating our wheat line back to Boston. So back up to 1.1 mil here, guys. We're going to create a line from Albany to Syracuse first, which will tie in our wheat to Albany back to Boston. That was a mouthful, but anyway, we're going to do that. All right, similar to before, guys. Here, I'm going to keep it running so we can still keep getting income. I tend to pause it when I start building a new train station or train line. See, what's the best way to do this here? So we could... Oh, wow, look at all these resources up here. We could build the line all the way up here, slowly getting all these resources and tying it back down into the station in Albany. But all this stuff is kind of irrelevant to the campaign chapter we're in, so we might just cut across the river, build our first bridge, which is hopefully not going to be too expensive because it's a pretty short body of water directly into Albany. So let's do that. We already have it oriented the same way. We'll build it. Can we build it right under this building? No, we can't. Oh, we can build it over here. That's fine. Let's do that. Get our first line over. Let's see how much this costs. Once we've... It's going to try to build right under this mountain, which we're obviously not going to let it do. Yeah, see that? We're going to bring it over here, try to smooth it out before raising this track point. So we hopefully don't have to... Yeah, so we got the bridge. Still 169k. Let's bring it up a little higher so we don't have to spend so much on earthwork. 141k. No, that's good, man. And the bridge obviously is going to have that added cost of 60k, but all in all, I didn't even see what it was when we first put it down, but it had to be well into 1 mil plus, or maybe even more. But that's a pretty nice looking line already. Got a couple grades going on, but not so much so that it's going to affect our maximum speed on the track. So we're going to go ahead and build that. Quickly build the parallel line, guys, and then bam. So as you can see, once you first build the line, you can keep adding parallel lines if you want to. I might try that on a custom game, but right now we don't have too much expendable income, so we're going to keep it to 2 tracks, tying them in with a single gridiron here. So when you build a bunch of tracks coming out of the station, the gridiron will span all of them. So any one of these tracks can get to any one of these, which can then access any line going out the other side, or coming out the same side for that matter. That's really cool how things can kind of evolve, and you kind of want to plan around that too, with how you're building your station, just to kind of future-proof it so you don't have to do a big renovation afterwards. So we're going to go ahead and orient our right-left track direction here. And what are we missing? We got our gridirons. I'm trying to get back in the mode of playing after a little break there, guys. So I want to make sure this is on the terminal side. Probably using that term kind of confusing or incorrectly, so I apologize. There we go. Now we can create... So, like I mentioned earlier, I think it doesn't matter where you have the to and from going besides, you know, that maiden voyage, right? where the line actually starts sending trains first. After that, it really doesn't matter, right? Because they've been running for so long. Who cares when it started? But I like to my point, I like to start the line from in a kind of linear fashion, right? If I started from Boston to Albany, then I want to go from Albany to Syracuse. It's less confusing for me that way. I don't know if it even really matters, but that's just my kind of rationalization, I guess. The loading automatic. So now that we have that line in, we can quickly create another line which will send wheat to Albany. So what's ideal is Albany was already getting this wheat, which is the precursor to making beer, right? So they'll distill that beer, that wheat down to beer, and so they'll be using a lot of it. Really, right? Okay, we're spending a lot, so in a quarter we're down 10k. Doesn't really matter, but they'll use a lot of it, so it might take a little longer for excess wheat to get to Boston, but we'll be fine. So that said, let's quickly build another train station here, and we're gonna make this quick and dirty. We should be able to just plop it in right here, be able to access, we should have any junction we want to build available to us after. Anyway, it should be easy as this. Let's try to stretch it out so we get max launch speed here. We'll build that. Gridiron. What? Gridiron. There we go. Direction. Always remember the maintenance depot. I've gone through my last playthrough. I was building things so fast that I was forgetting simple things like supply towers and which I did forget a supply tower too here. Supply towers and maintenance depots, and everything was breaking down. So sometimes it's worth just taking a little time and making sure all the essentials are down. So I think now that they are, we can create our rail line from Baker's Rest to Albany. And similar to the sugar, Albany's existing line between itself and Boston will start bringing the wheat back once there's excess. But obviously for that to work, okay, before we get into that, let me just create this line. For that to work, we need a warehouse here that is stockpiling any excess wheat, so that any wheat the city's not using for its population or its beer industry is going to get naturally just filtered down into Boston. And that, oh look, it's already growing without the wheat. So it looks like we didn't even need to set up that line. That's kind of like extra. I mean, we're probably going to finish this mission before the wheat even gets here, because our population is quickly going up here. This menu, having this menu open doesn't pause the time, so we can probably see this number creeping up. Yep. We're already up to 22k. Only need 3k more people. This is good. Yeah, it looks like Boston just started growing because they have fulfillment. Well, they already had excess wheat in Albany, which came in on the first line back, the first trip back. So this 2.1 number, I think, is the, I don't know if it's the weekly or monthly. Oh, demand per week. Yeah, so this is how many it requires to keep its citizens at 100% fulfillment at its current population, right? Once this goes up to another tier of population, once it reaches 35k, it might go up to like 4, or probably not any higher than 4, probably around 4, and they'll start demanding 4 per week. But we have 21 in stock, so with how much excess we're getting from Albany, I mean, it's never going to stay at this delivery rate, because they probably just had a bunch extra that they were itching to get rid of. So we got like an influx of it starting out. But even at its lowest shipment rate, even when, they don't have that much more to send to Boston, it'll keep it above that 2.1 or maybe 4 per week mark. So Boston... Oh, I'm on Albany. So Albany is having issues with its production. You saw it quickly turn red there. That's because we really haven't propagated enough wheat in the stocks to keep this going. But once we give it some time to for this line to keep transporting wheat in. This will keep running smoothly without any interruptions. At least that's the hope, right? Because we got 2 trains coming in with... Let's see how much is in this one. We'll pause it real quick so we can catch the train. So it's not delivering that much anymore, you know? So they probably have everything they need in storage, which is 22. So I was explaining earlier, I think I selected Boston the entire time, or Albany the entire time, but let's see how much we have. So we only have 0.7 and a demand for 0.5 here. So this isn't going to be growing for that. This isn't going to be sustaining 100% too much longer. At least until we get a new load of wheat coming in, which we got beer coming in. Yeah, there's probably not enough propagated in the warehouses in Albany to sustain Boston, but we have 1. So that's okay. That's how much time it's been in storage. So we'll start accumulating more and more, I believe. Let's just check Albany. Yeah. So that means what they have in storage is only going to last 2 more weeks, but we should be getting more and more wheat constantly. Oh, look, this is a train from Syracuse, and this should be coming from the wheat farm. So that's cool. We should be hitting population, so we don't have to worry about any potential foundations. I'm not even going to bid on that, because... So basically what we're bidding on is, now you're spending innovation points for these perk upgrades, right? In the tech tree. If you win those bids, you can pretty much buy them for money instead of research points, and keep saving your research points for other stuff. In some playthroughs, excuse me by the way, in some playthroughs I was able to like quickly advance down this thing. Like I had bought like something that's worth 300 innovation points, and I had like 400 innovation points, so I went down this line really quickly. And what's kind of cool is, I think historically this 1940 line is technology that was only available after 1940. And if you're playing this really optimally, guys, and you're making a lot of money and building out your network really fast, you'll hit this way before 1940. Like for example, in my other playthrough, I hit this within 2 years. So I'm just like, okay, I just gotta let the game run now, right? So we're at 5,000. We're at 25k in Boston. Oh, I was like, why isn't it going?
That I inherited from my father. By now, it has grown into a stately company, and with the help of the railway, it can become really big.
Yeah, I'll help you.
We've done a lot for the people in this region. Shorter travel times, increased transport of goods, and at the same time, our registers are ringing. As a next step, we should consolidate our success. Take a look at your list. I've added some more tasks.
Okay, I think this is a good stopping point, guys. I thought this whole chapter was going to be done after that. I haven't gone through any of these chapters yet, but it looks like we have another subchapter within this chapter, the Boston and Albany Railroad, which we've already established. So really, reaching 30,000 citizens in Albany. So really, we have to service Albany's needs now to reach that 30k, and maybe create more trains within the existing line. So we're gonna do that in the next episode, guys. I think this has gone on long enough already. I hope you guys like it. I know it's new, and you know, my existing subscriber base probably isn't into stuff like this, but you know, this is what I like to play. But anyway, guys, if you liked it and you're new to the channel, please subscribe, like the video. I'm going to be churning these out regardless, because I'm already playing and I'm currently addicted to this game anyway. I might as well create some content on YouTube. Anyway, guys, wish me luck on my job search. I'll keep cranking these out in my free time, and have a good one. Peace.